Hello and welcome to a FortiWeb video on client-side security. Since modern web apps rely heavily on JavaScript, APIs, and third-party integrations, the browser becomes a critical attack surface. Here are the most common user behaviors that lead to browser compromise. Installing harmful browser extensions that compromise security, downloading and running software from unreliable sources, visiting websites that have been hacked or are malicious, accepting browser notifications or prompts without scrutiny, using browsers or plugins that are not up to date, falling victim to deceptive tactics to gain access. Attacks that target the browser specifically focus on exploiting the environment in which web pages are rendered, rather than attacking the server. These attacks aim to steal sensitive data, manipulate content, or compromise user behavior, often silently. Let's walk through how OWASP categorizes common browser security risks, using straightforward examples along the way. First, risks related to inline or DOM-based scripts. These involve scripts that are either embedded directly in the page or dynamically manipulated via the DOM. They are often exploited through injection or a lack of proper input control. Examples: an attacker injects a malicious script that reads sensitive values like API token. A harmful script is embedded in the URL, triggering JavaScript execution when visited. A tracker script is injected inline to silently exfiltrate user data to third-party domains. Next, risks related to external or third-party resources. These risks stem from loading external JavaScript libraries or third-party services. If those resources are compromised or behave unexpectedly, they can jeopardize security. Examples: a CDN-hosted library is altered to include malicious payloads. A script from an unknown or untrusted source accesses the DOM, cookies, or form inputs, potentially to steal data or inject ads. A vendor adds features to a hosted script that unintentionally introduce vulnerabilities. Last, risks related to data handling and monitoring. These focus on how data is stored in the browser, how front-end activity is monitored, and whether proper security controls are enforced. Examples: sensitive session or personal data is stored in local storage, which is accessible via JavaScript and vulnerable to script-based attacks. No mechanism is in place to detect unsafe functions like eval being used by third-party scripts. Business logic or sensitive information is exposed in front-end JavaScript code. Standard browser security features like content security policy or Subresource integrity are not implemented, leaving the browser open to manipulation. FortiWeb actively prevents and mitigates these attacks by controlling how browsers behave, validating resource integrity, and securing sensitive data. Its layered protection strategy provides defense before, during, and even after the browser is compromised. At Stage 1, the goal is to harden browser behavior before any malicious script has a chance to run. FortiWeb's HTTP header security feature inserts security headers into the response to regulate browser-side behavior. It instructs the browser on how to handle inline scripts and which external resources are considered trustworthy. Client-side protection focuses on the CSP header. It analyzes your front-end code and automatically identifies all external domains and services involved, allowing you to take immediate actions such as allow or block. Stage 2 focuses on detecting whether scripts or assets have been tampered with after being loaded into the browser, even if they originate from trusted sources. FortiWeb's Subresource integrity check validates externally loaded JavaScript and CSS by verifying their cryptographic hashes. It effectively blocks any file that has been altered, such as those modified by a compromised CDN or attacker-injected payload. If the file's hash doesn't match the expected value, it is prevented from executing. The goal of Stage 3 is to mitigate damage even if the browser has been compromised by malware, browser extensions, or injected code. FortiWeb's cookie security feature automatically enforces attributes like HTTP only, secure, and same site to protect sensitive session data stored in cookies. This helps prevent cookies from being exposed or tampered with by injected scripts. MITB protection also encrypts and secures user inputs like login fields and payment data, and implements anti-keylogging mechanisms, securing data as it travels from the browser to FortiWeb. FortiWeb's CORS protection feature actively checks whether requests conform to defined origin and method rules. If the request from an untrusted origin or disallowed method, FortiWeb blocks the request before it reaches your server. Together, these features form a layered client-side security strategy, helping you defend against the OWASP top 10 client-side risks. In the following slides, we'll take a closer look at each feature in detail. Let's start with HTTP header security and client-side protection. FortiWeb's HTTP header security inserts security-focused headers into HTTP responses to enforce browser behavior, helping protect against client-side risks such as DOM-based XSS, data leakage, clickjacking, and abuse of browser APIs. Let's look at how FortiWeb helps strengthen client-side security by inserting browser-enforced headers. First, we have content and script source control. FortiWeb can insert headers like CSP, corp, COEP, and COOP. These tell the browser exactly what content it's allowed to load and where it can come from. That means if an attacker tries to inject a malicious script or load something from an untrusted source, it gets blocked. Next is browser feature and API control. Here, FortiWeb uses headers like permissions policy and timing allow origin to control what browser features can be used. This helps prevent things like unauthorized access to the client's camera, clipboard, or even timing-based attacks that try to infer sensitive info. Then there's content rendering and execution control. FortiWeb adds protection using headers like X-content type options, X-frame options, and XXSS protection. These help stop attackers from running code by disguising file types, loading your site in a malicious frame, or exploiting older browsers. And finally, we have data exposure and privacy control. Headers like refer policy and clear site data tell the browser to limit how much sensitive info, like URLs or tokens, is shared with third parties, and to clear stored data after logout, so nothing is left behind. So even though the threats are happening in the browser, FortiWeb gives you a powerful way to defend against them by setting the rules that browsers have to follow. And the best part? You don't need to touch your application code. Client-side protection specifically focuses on managing the CSP header. Unlike the traditional approach that requires manually listing trusted external sites, it offers an automated way to identify and control them. FortiWeb injects a script to analyze your front-end code and automatically identify all external services and domains involved. You can review these resources and configure FortiWeb to allow or block them. Based on your selections, FortiWeb inserts a CSP header into HTTP responses to instruct the browser on how to handle the resources. In the real world, even if the browser enforces rules like accepting scripts only from trusted sources, there's still a risk that those trusted scripts may be tampered with. This is where Subresource integrity check becomes essential. Today, most modern websites load scripts and style sheets from third-party sources, like a CDN. That's convenient and efficient, but it also opens the door to risk. What if one of those third-party files is compromised? FortiWeb's Subresource integrity check helps protect against this by enforcing hash-based verification. It ensures that the scripts or styles are executed only if their content matches a known, trusted cryptographic hash. It works like this. When the browser initiates loading a script from a third party, a cryptographic hash of the expected file is provided. FortiWeb checks the downloaded file's hash against that expected fingerprint. If the file has been tampered with even slightly, it won't match and FortiWeb will block it. This approach effectively detects compromised CDNs, silent updates, and even the tampering during transit. In some cases, attacks can bypass browser-level defenses and compromise the client's browser. When that happens, it's critical to have protections in place that secure sensitive data, even in a compromised browser environment. FortiWeb addresses this with several key features: cookie security, MITB protection, and CORS protection. These defenses work together to minimize the impact of browser compromise and protect user data at every stage. Let's talk about cookie security. Cookies often hold sensitive data like session IDs, but if they're not properly protected, attackers can steal or tamper with them, leading to session hijacking or data leaks. FortiWeb's cookie security feature helps prevent this. It automatically applies a set of protections to make cookies confidential, tamper-proof, and only accessible as intended. Here's what it does. It encrypts cookie values so attackers can't read or modify them. It adds key security flags, HTTP only to block JavaScript from stealing cookies, secure so cookies are only sent over HTTPS, same site to stop cross-site request forgery. It can control cookie scope by setting expiration and path limits. It signs cookies and checks their integrity. If a cookie's been tampered with, it's rejected. With this feature enabled, session cookies stay protected, even if a malicious script runs in the browser or if someone tries to intercept the traffic. Now let's talk about MITB protection. Man-in-the-browser attacks occur when malware or a malicious browser extension silently injects scripts into a user's browser, allowing attackers to steal sensitive data like passwords, credit card numbers, or session tokens, without altering the server or network. FortiWeb's MITB protection feature is designed to stop these attacks by securing sensitive form data as it travels from the browser to the server. Here's how it works. Encrypts and obfuscates sensitive form fields, making them unreadable to injected scripts or keyloggers. Randomizes and hides field names so that malicious scripts can't easily identify or intercept them. Uses an allow list to validate legitimate AJAX requests and block suspicious ones. Implements anti-keylogging mechanisms to prevent malware from capturing keystrokes. By applying these techniques, FortiWeb ensures that even if the user's browser is compromised, the attacker can't easily access or manipulate critical form data, protecting your application from fraud, data theft, and unauthorized transactions. Finally, let's look at CORS protection. Malicious extensions or injected scripts from web frontends may try to send cross-origin requests to your application's APIs. These requests might attempt to read sensitive data, such as user details or session tokens, from your backend. FortiWeb's CORS protection feature allows you to enforce strict rules on which external origins can access your application's resources, blocking unauthorized cross-origin requests before they ever reach your backend. Key capabilities include allow listing trusted origins, defining which HTTP methods are allowed, specifying which headers can be included in CORS requests, deciding whether to allow credentials like cookies or tokens to be sent. In the previous slide, we talked about the HTTP header security feature and how it inserts corp headers into responses. So how does the CORS protection feature work differently from this header? Let's take a closer look. Corp headers simply tell the browser how to handle cross-origin requests, but they don't actually block anything. They rely on the browser to follow the rules. FortiWeb's CORS protection goes further. It actively checks and blocks cross-origin requests that don't match your policies. This means real-time enforcement, with more precise control over which origins, methods, and headers are allowed. Used together, they provide both browser guidance and real-time cross-origin request check, a stronger, more complete defense. To sum it up, FortiWeb delivers powerful server-side protections that minimize the impact of client-side attacks targeting the browser. It doesn't require changes to your application code. FortiWeb helps secure the entire browser interaction lifecycle by provides features including HTTP security headers, client-side protection, CORS protection, Subresource integrity check, MITB protection, and cookie security. Together, these features form a layered client-side security strategy, helping you defend against the OWASP top 10 client-side risks, even when the browser is the target. Thanks for watching.